Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Quantum Astrology Gathering. And with me today, I have Steve Judd, who used to call himself the Caustic Astrologer, and I wish he would still because I love that title, but he doesn't anymore. And
Yes, I
Steve,
do. Yes, I do. Yes,
ah,
I do. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Steve, I've been watching Steve's videos for a long time, and he's a great astrologer. I made a comment on his YouTube channel, and we ended up doing a joint vlog together and realized we have so much in common about how we see astrology, how we think. And also we were in Northern Ireland at the same time period in the 70s when in the middle of the Troubles. I lived there as a teenager and you were in the army there, right, Steve? So it's kind of weird how these things come together. That's the way this world works, or this cosmos, in my opinion. But anyway, I got Steve on because when we were talking, we discovered we kind of look at the astrology in the same way about how to kind of grow as an astrologer, in my opinion, because you have to start with the books, yes. You have to learn how to create a chart, the basics of what the planets mean and things like that, and how to look at the chart. But then, after you've done that, what do you do, Steve, to really become a good astrologer?
When you download information from a USB stick onto your hard drive and it's on your hard drive, and then you replicate it in a number of different programs and on emails to people, what you do with the original USB stick, you're never going to use it again. So you either completely reprogram it or you throw it away. When I got rid of about 200 books on astrology a couple of years ago because most of them I'd never opened. I've now got about 30 books on astrology, and some of them I've never opened. The only one that I read religiously is the Ephemeris.
Yeah, yeah.
And I read that every day because it's my Bible.
Well,
It's
I
my go.
I read the online ephemeris now, so I don't even need ephemeris. But yeah,
Did I show you my Ephemeris?
no, you didn't. No, go on. I bet it's
Um,
well worn.
hang on there.
Yeah.
You've got two types of ephemerises.
Hmm.
There's two types of astrologers, right? And if an astrologer comes to you and says, yes, I'll do your horoscope for you, and they've got an ephemeris like this,
Unopened.
then you run a mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is my ephemeris. Battered, bruised, broken, torn, bit like me, but full of knowledge, magic, practical use. They need to put this in the tomb when they burn me or in my coffin or whatever, because this tells me everything I need to know.
And that's how you start to see the patterns and how they're all lining up together. And so, that brings me to how what I'm calling a quantum way of looking at the astrology, the chart, which is what we look at as astrologers. What is the quantum way of looking at it? And it's almost like the shamanic way for me as well. There's all different words. And talk about how you came to that as well. You mentioned it, the chat before about Heisenberg and Schrödinger and all of that. Yeah.
Quantum invokes the idea of different connected states of being and of different resonances, i.e., is the cat alive? Is the cat dead? If you look at something, is it moving or is it still? And when you move your eyes away, is it a particle or is it a wave? And there are strong connections here with the idea of a holistic universe
Mhm.
where everything is interconnected. And we now know, we can prove to most real sensible scientists
Mhm.
that the planets do emit radio waves that hit planet Earth. We can hear Jupiter on a shortwave radio. We know the moon affects us. So if these radio waves from planets are hitting the Earth, they're hitting us. Therefore, there is an effect. So I say most sane scientists, but the words sane and scientists don't always sit well together.
It's
But
just
so
it's just
everything's connected. Everything. It's like the mycelium
yeah.
in a mushroom field, or the roots of a tree connecting with every other tree.
Mhm.
There's this global underworld where everything is connected, and you get little mushrooms that stick out on their own. And in a way, that's us. We stick up as individuals, but underneath, we're all connected.
Mhm. We are, and it's I think it's even been proven. I read that the DNA of mushrooms is a certain quite high percentage, the same as humans, so we're even connected by science as well, so we are both wave and particle as everything else is. We are both wave and particle. And I believe as well, though, that just as the planets bring the waves down, because we are also part of that, everything we perceive and put out to them affects them too, in a way, or affects how we feel it or see them or experience it or in our consciousness. I don't think we move the planets. I'm not suggesting that, but
Oh, as you're saying this, I like this when new ideas just pop into my head. One of the oldest sayings in astrology is as above, so below. And I've always thought, okay, like above, you've got the stars, down here, you've got us. Okay. But what if it's different? What if, as above, with the planets moving, constantly interacting and making a ongoing, permanent changing pattern,
Mhm.
and as below, the mycelium, the mushroom, the tree roots, everything under the earth, all connected. And as above, so below, the interface is us. We are the interface between that on the surface. And
At least,
it's
at
kind of
least
analogous to
our
when you work,
aware.
as far as we're aware, yes.
Yes.
It's kind of analogous to when you walk by the sea, but right by where the sea and the sand join within that one square yard, because sensitives, when they walk in that one square yard where the sea and the sand join, they can pick up the liminality, the multidimensionality of two different worlds right parallel with each other, and it's much more easy to pick up at the very edge of where the sea and the sand join.
Yeah.
And so, this idea of a multidimensional universe, or even a multidimensional planet,
Mm.
is becoming much more attractive to me, as long as I can still keep a kind of rational head on my shoulders and still remember to do all the normal things like eating and
Exactly.
sleeping and
Have to live in this kind of world, yes, and
yes.
feed our physical needs as well, and keep a bit grounded in some way at least. And we need both, right and left brain, whatever you call it.
Hmm.
And
Global sharing.
yeah, yeah. And the
Mhm.
other bit of that, as above, so below, is as within, so without. That's another part of that whole thing. So
The microcosm is reflected in the macrocosm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I created this gathering because I really want more people to understand that, because we've got a lot of, young astrologers coming in, and pop astrology memes and things, and we all have to start somewhere. So I'm not going to diss everybody about it, but I encourage you to develop that and grow that and move into this kind of space of um seeing it at a deeper level with this intuitive sensing, as well as the rational knowledge that you've learned from the books. I said to Steve before we started, I really felt I became a professional astrologer when I threw away the books and just let the chart speak to me. You know.
I take on board what you say about the younger astrologers. There's a vital need for younger astrologers. And just yesterday, three of my very first student group from 4 years ago sent me their website with all their bios and their services and their fees. And it's like I'm so proud of them because it's almost like I'm birthing new astrologers.
Mhm.
And I've got about 20 people out there now beginning to do readings, some of them professionally and charging good money, knowing that I've helped them a long way on their road. But it's just passing on the knowledge. But for all of those that are doing it, there's also a lot of very well educated and sophisticated young astrologers who don't do readings, who are very adamant in their beliefs. And
Mm,
when I say to them, the more I know, the less I know, they look at me and think, "Oh, you're just getting senile old man," you know. And I just think, and I just at that point, I just go into what I call grasshopper mode. Yes, grasshopper,
yes.
and leave them at that and let them get on with it because they will learn.
One thing I encourage my students to do if they want to become professional and charge for readings is actually to go to these psychic fairs, which, just a couple of times at least, and do rapid fire one question, 10-minute readings where you don't have time to get a book out and just trust.
Louise, I cut my teeth
Yeah.
for 4 years on the astrological phone lines.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing 20 readings a day in 4 to 6 hours, and you've got 5 seconds to get the chart up and analyze it before you've got to start speaking because the client's paying a lot of money.
Yep.
And if you start pausing or going, or they're just going to cut you off.
Let me get a book
Then,
out and go and check what that
yeah,
means.
no, no, you've got to be really, really sharp. It makes you sharp. So
It,
yes, the idea of going to psychic fairs and doing lots and lots of readings or going on the phone lines and just doing it non-stop, it makes you sharp.
yeah.
And this is one of the sacred rules of astrology that I don't have, that the only way to learn astrology is through hardcore practice,
Yes.
practice, practice.
That's why it's an astrological practice because you're still practicing. I am a deeper, more connected to the client astrologer than I was a year ago because I keep practicing. It just grows and grows. And that's not saying a year ago I was bad. It just means it grows the more you practice. And so the connection.
Many of my tutors on my MA have
Mhm.
never done an astrological reading in their life.
Oh,
They're historians
yeah.
and academics, and
Hmm.
they know everything about Egyptian, Greek, Roman astrology.
Yeah.
But when it comes to practicing it in the 21st century and being able to talk on it authoritatively through direct experience, you and I are members of a very small club.
Hmm.
And there is no easy way to gain access to that club apart from many years of consistent, regular practice. That is the only way.
I think it's growing though, Steve, which is why
Oh, it
I'm,
is.
yeah, thank heavens, which is why I'm doing this. And I mentioned to you that I'm a member of Oprah Astrology. I'm actually one of what they call a peer group leader. So their certification process is actually a series of peer groups and a counseling course and an astronomy course. And part of the peer group process is doing a live reading. It's a small group of five, but you do a live reading for one of the other peers in the group. You do it in your own way. You only have a lesser time to do it in. And you're not judged on whether, you exact unless it's totally off the charts. You're judged in how you work more than and it's judged in a very proactive, positive way with suggestions of how to develop that being a professional astrologer and how to work with clients, with people. And they even do courses on writing, how to write about it in a more kind of embodied way, which is why I'm a member of that group. But there's also, I don't know if you've heard of Astrology University in the US.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, they actually only do practicums. They don't do tests. You go away and work on a chart, and they bring in a lot of different techniques.
I'm familiar with the people who run it.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
I used to be a real show off
Yeah.
in the old days before the internet.
Hmm.
I used to go into a pub for a drink or a cafe and get talking with people, and people would say, "What do you do for a living then?" I say, I'm a professional astrologer. And of course, oh, you don't believe in that old rubbish, do you? And
Yeah,
these days, I just say, yeah, don't need to believe in it. I know it works. Works for me anyway.
that's what I
But I
say.
used to go, okay, then tell me your birthday, not the year,
Mm.
just the date and the month. This is over a pint or something.
Yeah,
And they say something like, I don't know, 19th of December.
yeah.
All right. And in a split second, I think 19th of December, that's 28 degrees Sagittarius.
Hmm. Hmm.
2 days before the solstice, 2 degrees before the end of Sagittarius, so 28 Sagittarius. And then in another split second, I think Pluto was at 28 degrees Sagittarius in 2007. So within a matter of a second, they're saying me 19th of December, and I come back and go, yeah, 2007, that really trashed you, didn't it? You had a really hard time, lots of psychological backstabbing, manipulation, but also a real breakthrough. By
Yeah,
which time they're going, oh, you're really weird. How do you know that? And boom, and they're gone. And that was I was really showing off by doing that.
yeah,
But that's when I was almost fanatic in my desire to get it into the world.
yeah.
Nowadays, I'm not like, well, your
I,
choice.
I don't even try and do that anymore either. And that brings me to another subject about astrology as a whole, what we're doing out in the world with astrology. I think astrology and many astrology schools and many many astrologers, to be quite honest, are too busy trying to prove that it works. I've seen film of people trying to being tested, like, can you guess what sign this person is? Well, we're more than one sign for a start, one sun sign, as we know. So yes, you were born under a sun sign, but you're also more than that. That's just party games, and it doesn't do astrology any good.
But whenever I do that, I always end up guessing the ascendant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because the ascendant deals with the way you look like. So
Exactly. The appearance. Yeah. And then as well, this the tendency which seems to have re-emerged a lot for a lot of predictive astrology for saying, this will happen. We had a prime example recently in the US with the Democratic Convention right on the full moon that
yeah.
was where Uranus. I heard people saying this is going to be dire for the Democrats. This is going to be, and I was like, no, it's not. It's going to be a major breakthrough and turning point for them. And yes, guess what it was, you know.
But but may I suggest that that is because of the willingness of members of the Democratic Party to adapt to change before that convention.
Oh yeah.
At that full moon, that full moon at that time was all around um, 27 degrees of the fixed signs.
Mhm.
And if Biden had still been in charge, he's got lots of stuff in late Scorpio, then I think it would have been much more disruptive.
I think,
Whereas with Harris, with stuff at 27 Libra and 27 Aries, much more harmonious with that full moon, it worked much better.
oh, definitely, definitely.
And the other one was before that was the Mars Uranus Algol conjunction, which a lot of astrologers, myself included, went, uh-oh, someone's going to lose their head. And the next day,
The assassination attempt. Yeah. And it opposed all Biden's stuff. And whilst it didn't happen on that day, because it was opposing, that's when people started really shouting about he should step down.
yeah, that was the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Everyone in the Republicans were going on about, oh, he's too old. He can't keep going like this. And now Trump is the oldest candidate ever. So it's fascinating.
but
Mm.
astrology does work in that way. But I will say you can never predict exactly how it's going
No,
to,
you can't.
where it's going to show up.
You cannot. You can forecast, like the weather forecast,
Yes.
but you cannot predict.
Exactly. I love that. I always use the term forecast rather than prediction. I've had clients come to me and I've had to really mop up some, yeah, like this astrologer told me that I would get divorced in 2 years' time from my husband of 30 years. And I was like, they can't tell you that. That's
No, that's so wrong. I had someone the other day, an email came to me, and it's from a woman in America who said, "Oh, my daughter was born with the sun square moon." And three separate astrologers said, "Oh, this is sign of a breakup of the parents, but we love each other deeply, and we're really worried." And I'm like, "Oh my God, right, damage limitation. This
yeah,
is nothing to do with you.
yeah,
It's to do with a child, not you."
yeah. I know.
And
And they also ignore the fact that we have free will in how we respond to
exactly,
it.
exactly. That's why I'm a free will orientated astrologer, not a fatalist.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah. And that's why I'm also what I would call a co-creative astrologer because and I call it that because I try and offer clients a sense of possibility of if even if it's a challenging time coming up, if they can work with it and things, it could open up major possibilities. And I think we can do that collectively as well, instead of saying there's going to be war when Uranus enters Gemini. How could that be different this time? You know, because
Rubbish. There's going to be massive technological breakthroughs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now that could come in a number of different fields.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It really
Some
could.
of them, some of them militaristic,
Yeah, absolutely.
but equally health, technology, space travel.
Yeah.
You know,
And let's kind of put out there, what we would like to see as well. It's in my opinion that works.
what if? And I'm just asking this as a hypothetical question. What if, bearing in mind the transits of the next few years,
Hmm.
what if everything we've done so far in our species evolution has been a build up towards this moment in time, and that we're on the point now of the biggest moment of concentrated, compressed change and examination of our durability and our fitness to evolve
Yeah.
that
And
we've ever had.
whether we're going to sustain this human thing, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah,
And this is why I say
I think
there's
this,
nothing cast in stone,
yeah,
but you can break down or you can break through.
yeah. And evolve and change with what's happening. And
Yes.
and
This
I
is why I differentiate between human beings and humans being.
yeah,
I'm a humans being.
good. Oh, I
So
like
are
that.
you.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm in total agreement about that. We're recording this in August, by the way. It's not going to go at the end of August. It's not going to go out till November the 11th. But as of this recording, I actually chatted with a psychic medium friend of mine who channels what she calls the blue. And I just say, to me, I said it's the same big consciousness as what makes the planets and everything, really, to me. And she said that same thing, that we're in this moment that we've everything since humans became a thing has been moving towards this big moment of, okay, yeah, have you learned? Are you ready? Kind of thing.
And perhaps that's why so many people who are still living in fear or are scared of losing the power they think they have
Yeah,
are fighting against what I see as the Great Reset and are desperately trying to keep things the way it's always been because it's convenient to them.
oh, absolutely they are, but they haven't got a chance, to be quite honest.
No,
So
they haven't.
no,
No,
and
they haven't. Chance to know.
it does make me chuckle that you call it the Great Reset, though, because isn't it the World Economic Forum or something that calls it the?
Yeah, I did it deliberately. I did it
Yeah,
deliberately just to
I'm
wind a few
sure you
people.
did.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did. Because all those conspiracy theorists think they all got evil intent. Well, I don't know whether they have or not. No. People are
I
people.
was 19. I was 19 when punk started. And all the best, all of the people like the Ramones, the Clash, the Sex Pistols, they're all born within a year of me.
Yeah,
So I'm of that generation.
I was the first punk rocker in my high school. I went to see all the bands. I missed the Sex Pistols though, because that was when they cancelled. Um, the
Yeah.
Derby City Council wouldn't let them play in Derby, so I know.
I saw them at, would you believe, Cleethorpes Winter Gardens.
Oh, I love it. See, we've got so much in common. So, I think one other thing I would like to talk about is Mark Jones, who I think is a fabulous astrologer as well. He's another British guy because, we Brits, we've got our heads on our shoulders a little bit. So, anyway, he sent out an email mentioning the God of the Gaps. And it also, I'm also listening to a book by John O'Donoghue called Amankara. You're probably aware of it. And in it, um, um, John O'Donoghue mentions about lace makers, saying the real message of the lace is in the gaps. That feels very quantum about how we look at a chart as well. We're not just looking at the degrees, the planets and things. We're also looking at the space between almost about what's kind of leaping out at us. How do you feel about that?
One of my oldest friends, I've known him for 40 years. It's a guy called John Munson. He's the owner and publisher of a whole 200 books called Wooden Books. Um, and his first book was on the spatial geometry of the planets.
Hmm.
And he proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that the orbital distance of the planets from the sun and their rotational speeds in their orbits around the sun
Hmm.
is not random.
No, no, it's not.
It
No.
is it is precise.
Oh, it's
Let me give you two very quick examples. If you take four coins and put them next to each other in a square of four coins,
mhm,
and you draw a circle around those four coins, and then you draw another circle in that little inverted diamond shape in the middle of those four coins,
mhm,
then that inner circle is the orbit of Mars, and the outer circle is the orbit of Jupiter. And this is accurate to 99.9% plus.
yep.
Similarly, if you take the orbit, if you draw a circle, put a square around it, and then draw another circle around that square, just a 2-to-1 ratio,
Mm.
you've got the orbit of Uranus compared to the orbit of Neptune.
Yep.
Because Uranus's orbit is 83.9 years and Neptune's orbit is 164.2. So it's only accurate to 98.5%, but that's still pretty damn good.
And the Venus orbit, which I work with deeply,
Yeah,
is phi. It's the golden mean. It's the golden ratio.
it is.
It's
It
like-
is.
which shows up everywhere in nature as well,
Of course it does.
and in humans.
And as for squaring the circle by using the Earth and the Moon,
Hmm.
and my favorite one of all is I've confronted so many astronomers and scientists with this, and they all say it's coincidence.
Hmm.
Um, the Moon happens to be 400 times smaller in diameter than the sun.
Yeah,
But the moon happens to be 400 times closer to the Earth than the sun.
yeah.
And if this was not exact, we wouldn't get eclipses.
No, we wouldn't. No, no. And
So astronomers and scientists say this is coincidence.
I'm sorry.
And I say, no, it's not.
No, it isn't. No, no. Well, as you know, I'm when I get time to finish it, writing a book on series. We both like series, so-called. Um, I don't care what astronomers call it, to be honest. Series, there's another thing called Bode's law about distance of planets from the sun, and Ceres actually fits Bode's law. So I kind of
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. It's the geometry's there if you've got the eyes to see it.
yeah, yeah,
But if it doesn't fit your own personal beliefs and you choose not to see it, what
yeah,
does that say about you?
exactly. Not open to understanding new things, all of these things.
And
Now,
it's only 350, 400 years ago. It's only 15 generations ago that astronomy and astrology split
I know they use
because
the same thing,
they
so
used to be one and the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
Astronomy talks about the movement of the planets in the sky, and astrology talks about the effects of those movements. And it's only once the telescope became a common theme in the world that they diversed.
yeah,
So divert. Oh, I forget the word. You know what I mean? They split apart.
yeah.
So,
I actually predict that they'll come back together, to be honest,
of
because
course, they will. They are already.
yeah,
Um,
there's quite a few what they call themselves sky astrologers who encourage actually going out and looking at the sky and learning, the astronomy. And then there's some astronomers that are realizing that, oh, actually, perhaps there's something to all
well,
things working
you
together.
can count me as one of the former. I
Yeah,
love taking students out there and going, look, so there's the horns of Taurus, and there's the Pleiades in the Taurus's shoulders, and he's
yeah,
bending down and charging Orion the Hunter because he's got his club up, who's standing on top of the crab.
yeah,
And it's all there. The whole creation myth is up there if you've got the eyes to see.
yeah, absolutely. But to those younger new astrologers who might be watching this, you can't learn it all at once. This is why it's a practice. You have to practice, practice, and gradually what speaks to you will start to come in if you keep remaining open to the new information. Plus, as we talked about on our joint thing, our consciousness is expanding collectively. So your consciousness will expand to absorb it. I liken it to when I started working with the asteroids in my chart, every time there was either a transit, a transiting planet activating the asteroid, or I would read about, say, Juno and discover that it's at the same degree as my Mercury. You can't make it up, It's like, and with Mercury being communication and learning, these things come to me when they're ready, I think. So
In having studied astrology for 45 years plus, having practiced astrology for 44 years, you can never fall into the trap of thinking you know it all.
oh no. That's why I
Yes,
love it. That's
yesterday,
why I love it.
yesterday, for the very first time in my life,
Yeah.
I found out that I have an out of bounds moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that, and explains so much.
Yeah.
And I'm still processing that, obviously, but you never you can never unlearn what you already know, and you can never say you know it all. The more
I
you know, the less you know.
and that's why I absolutely love astrology because it keeps me discovering new things, learning new things, integrating new knowledge. The story of how Ceres kind of came out to me in my chart is interesting because I felt my time of birth was off, and I thought I had a 2 degrees Capricorn ascendant for quite a long time because mother's memory, it wasn't on my birth certificate. No, I'm not Capricorn ascendant, right?
No, you're not. You're
But
not.
so I rectified my chart myself with some basic techniques and then had it confirmed by somebody who's an expert. And it moved to 28 degrees Sagittarius, which is my real rising sign. But then what came into my life but Ceres, who is at 2 Capricorn, which I thought was my
I love it when it happens.
I
It
guess
makes you realize that astrology is a multidimensional thing that surrounds us. It's all around us, as well as being in us and above us. It's all around.
yeah,
It truly is multidimensional.
it is. It's absolutely fascinating, and that's what keeps me young in mind and heart, I think. If you can remain open and don't think you know it all,
And
just
and the idea now of integrating astrology with quantum theory.
Mm.
realizing the interconnectedness of everything and how when you're not looking at a chart, it is an inert two-dimensional pattern showing the places of the planets at the moment that you were born. But at the moment you look at it
Yeah,
and interact with it, it becomes alive and vibrant and imparts so much knowledge, awareness, and information which can be passed on.
absolutely. I should show. Oh, I don't. Oh, here it is. So I've written three books myself, Steve. I actually got paid to write them, and this one was a bestseller in the astrology category. It's a bit fuzzy. Complete Guide to Astrology. But anyway, it's a beginner's book, so you don't need to read it. But I actually started integrating kind of quantum theory into this in the introduction and everything. I was like, I was asked to write it by an editor who was non-binary, and she said all the books are written, so it's to he, man, feminine, masculine, all of that kind of stuff. So I introduced quantum theory into it. I also introduced the astrology of sect, which is a traditional old one to use different language. And I kind of feel like we're going to move into this time where people integrate some of these older things because the ancients did know a lot. Astronomy and astrology, they were combined, you know.
Seriously, in this last, when I wrote my book on Pluto in 2012, 13, I found myself coming up more and more with this idea of embracing the dark feminine.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that Pluto does have a feminine side.
I think,
At which point I thought, well, in that case, surely every planet has the potential for that.
yeah. Well, Mars,
And
we
I found,
discovered Mars has water now too. So, yeah.
well, yeah, but then you've got Pallas Athene.
Yeah.
You don't mess with her, or Diana. You don't mess with them.
Oh,
And then I found, you're going to laugh at this. I found the feminine side of Saturn,
yeah. Definitely.
and
It's the crone energy,
the
really.
crone, precisely,
Yeah.
the wise woman.
But they're all both, I think, all of them.
Of course, of
Like,
course. But because we've lived in such a patriarchal
yeah,
couple of millennia, 5 millennia,
yeah.
6 millennia, 10 millennia, women have been rewritten out of history. But now, courtesy of the asteroid goddesses and other things,
Mhm.
the balance is beginning to reassert itself.
But
Not a moment too soon.
and now more and more astrologers are realizing, I make people laugh sometimes by just going, well, look, we've assigned them gender and they are rocks. Just
Um,
to kind of wind people up a little bit.
yeah, absolutely.
And you would never do that, would you?
Um, give me
So.
6 beers. Give me a few beers. I want to take umbrage with something you said.
Yeah, sure.
The Gnostic astrologer is not dead, he's just dormant.
Okay, good. Good.
And he is going through a bit of a rewrite
Yeah.
because I am realizing more and more ways in which to wind up certain sun signs
Hmm.
and how to really push their buttons. And the caustic astrologer has no boundaries. He will go for the most vulnerable point and hit it with everything.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful when I let him out. I'm glad I've got so much Gemini in my chart because I like the idea of having a not a split personality, but a number of different personalities. And the caustic astrologer is definitely one of them. And he means well because he makes people laugh at themselves, but
Yeah.
sometimes through the grimacing of laughing at oneself. Oh
And
yeah,
that,
I am like that. Ooh, yeah. So I mean,
well,
you
I
know,
think laughing at yourself is a very healthy thing to
yeah, but
do.
when you're laughing at other people, I mean, for example, Leos with their stupid hairstyles
Oh, I know.
and their appalling dress sense and their absolute arrogance, conceit, and vanity. Pride, fine,
Yeah.
but arrogance, conceit, and vanity. And then, if you really want to wind up a Leo, and you really want to take your life in your hands, you don't criticize them. You just talk about their ugly children.
Oh,
I think I'll stop there while I'm still alive.
and
I've got loads of this, loads of this. It's all fertilizing. So he's coming back. He'll be doing a video appearance this year somewhere.
well, follow Steve on YouTube for some of that. If you can take having fun poked at you a little bit, because, and I do it to a degree with, I post a meme a day on my Facebook business page, my Cosmic Owl Astrology page, for every sun sign, every month in those dates, I post just a fun meme that just pokes fun at the sun sign. It's just to introduce a bit of lightness into it. Some people take it very seriously, though.
Oh, well, that tells me they haven't got it. My catchphrase is all those people. If any one of you have ever had an email from me, you know that on every email, my tag is negativity can't exist where there's humor. If you can find the humor, even through the tears, you're sane. And if you can't laugh, even at yourself,
Yeah,
there's something not right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I go to a phrase that I learned because I use the tarot a little bit as well, mixed with the astrology sometimes. The devil card in Crowley's deck, one my favorite deck actually, even though a lot of people don't like Crowley. There's a book that interprets the cards, and she said the devil card is laughing at what bedevils you, and that's actually the Capricorn card. There you go. So there you go. So there's the
I
light
haven't.
side of Capricorn too. So
I have a nice little dungeon at the corner of my soul where
yeah.
my own devils live, and they occupy 2% of my nature. And every so often, I let them out to play under carefully controlled circumstances. And that way, they feel part of the team and they don't try to get any bigger because they know they're not at risk. And I know I'm not trying to kill them. They
Yeah,
know that they're loved.
yeah.
And you could substitute the word devil with the wounded one.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's
So
mhm.
love it, love
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
integrate, holistic. It's quantum.
It is quantum. Yeah.
And and I have to go in a minute, but if there's one
Okay.
underlying force that links all of these things, it is the great immeasurable force that cannot be explained. It is love.
It is. It's
It really is.
and people that have had near-death experiences have expressed that in almost every case that I've read, and people that have had some of these big, deep psychedelic journeys have just said it's just a sea of love, you know.
It's, it
So
really is.
yeah. So be love, love yourself. Yeah. And that's a great tool of astrology, to my mind. Working with a client one-on-one is helping them to love and accept themselves for, who they are, even the, overprotective bits or the little devils or whatever you want to call it, or the wound
Shadow.
or the shadow, the wounds, we've all got them. And I think astrology can really help you to learn to love yourself as for who you are. Yeah, at its root.
Lovely way to end.
Yes. So thank you, Steve.
Hey, love it.